Welcome to Danny Designs. I'm Danny, level 100, and on today's episode, I am going to answer a question I hear quite often. What is the difference between a level and a stage? In this episode, I will tell you how I tell the difference between a stage and a level, and how you can also make that distinction. A level typically has objectives given to you in the context of a story. Players are meant to experience story and gameplay through a level. Levels are crafted for the player experience. The first level of The Last of Us after the prologue is a great example. You get to walk through a city that is being controlled by the military. It tells you everything you need to know about how the infection hit, how people handled it, and what kind of future this game takes place in. However, no matter how well crafted this experience is, or how good a first level can be, the player will never have that first level experience again. In theory, a level's not intended to give the player 1,000 hours of enjoyment. You're not meant to replay this level of The Last of Us over and over again. A stage is essentially a play space that is designed to facilitate gameplay. A stage is designed to be played over and over again. Stages aren't necessarily meant to deliver story, just gameplay. An example of a game that uses stages is something like Pac-Man or Super Smash Bros. And the stages in Super Smash Bros. Aren't there to deliver handcrafted experiences of narrative and story. They're constructed in a way where players can play on the stage for hundreds if not thousands of times. The player is not supposed to get narrative from a stage. The stage is a venue for gameplay to take place. The biggest challenge is making sure the stage will stand the test of time. Titanfall 2's campaign are all levels because they have a story, they have a direction, they have a narrative, and they have objectives. The gameplay allows the player to experience all of these things. The levels inside of Titanfall 2's multiplayer aren't levels, they're stages, because they're designed to be played again and again. There's no direction in terms of what a writer is trying to tell the player. There's no objective aside from getting kills or earning points. It's just a stage for the gameplay. Now, that's not to say that a game or level designer isn't trying to direct the player in what kind of gameplay happens. It's very common if you play any sort of FPS. There's some maps that favor maybe long-range weapons or close quarters encounters. They're designing that play space to encourage that type of gameplay. There's nothing that says you have to play it that way. Imagine the Rey Theater in Los Angeles, California. It's a venue that hosts artists that are independent, that are mainstream, that are top 40s, comedians, have all performed on this stage. The performers are what change every other night. The stage is the same. It's the performance and the performers that you are engaging with when you go to the Rey. When you're playing Call of Duty Online, you're not engaging necessarily with the stage. The stage is a venue for you to engage with other players. Are there single-player games that have stages? Yeah, of course. If you ever played the game Portal, you played a single-player game with stages. Are there single-player games that have levels? Almost all of them. Is there a multiplayer game with levels? I would say so. Off the top of my head, a game that really sticks out to me as a multiplayer game that is a hybrid of levels and stages is something like Overwatch. Depending on where you're playing, if it's a King of the Hill or a payload map, each team has an objective to fulfill. No matter what your objective is, the stage will always be the same. Keeping these stages the same for the entire length of the game's lifespan allows players to develop a meta and develop strategies based off of these stages and the layouts. Overwatch also has a nice little habit of having some environmental storytelling in these stages. So you might be saying to yourself, okay, so I understand what a level is, and I understand what a stage is, but what about a map? Can you tell me what a map is, Danny? How would you define what a map is? Maps are essentially based off of an existing location in the real world or a fictional location. So what game utilizes a map view? But let me give you an example. PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds uses a fictionalized map to determine a giant play space, and that's not to say that these things aren't crafted to engage players. A good map still needs a level designer to come in and add little tweaks here and there to make the map interesting and balanced. If you don't have a level designer come into the map and add little tweaks and things to make the map work for gameplay, then you end up with what GTA 5 does. And see, this is one of my biggest pet peeves as a level designer. Grand Theft Auto 5, especially when it first launched, it didn't have stages for the multiplayer. It just had maps. And what I mean is, they would take a section from the single player, such as Vespucci Beach, and that's the team deathmatch area. And you might say, well, what's the problem? The problem is, it's not designed to be a team deathmatch arena. It's not Quake, it's not Call of Duty, it's not designed to be played that way. What you get is a giant location based off a real world location. So you have a map based off the real Venice Beach, and all you have is giant killing fields, empty space, long sight lines, high pieces of cover. You have distinct areas of advantage and disadvantage, with just nothing that's really balanced or designed for actual interesting gameplay. And I feel like this is some of the worst level design I've ever seen in a game, because there is no design. They just simply took part of the map that existed in the single player and said, this is now a multiplayer map. The map quality for Team Deathmatch is all over the place. Some areas work more because you're using a factory district, and some areas are terrible because you're just fighting on the beach. What did you guys think? I hope that my explanation makes some sense to you guys and helps you guys distinguish between what is a level, what is a stage, and what's a map. They're not really hard and fast rules, and you will notice that some games will call them maps or stages or levels. Some gamers from back in the day will call them boards, because games before they were video games were tabletop games, and you played on boards and not stages and not levels. But I think this is important so that way when you're making your game, you can understand, are you making a level or a stage? Let me know what you think. If you like this video, please leave a comment, subscribe. I Twitch stream at least a couple times a week. If you want to talk about game design or video games, etc., make sure to hit me up at twitch.tv/DannyLevel100. And I want to say thank you guys for watching. Take care, and I'll catch you later.